Shio, Osta, Shohin Yeyi, do you call the E? Ayasti, Kana Yegi, Tagwatoa. Good evening. Welcome to the Red Road East. I'm your host, Feerce Truth-Seeker. The Red Road East is an Indigenous TV program dedicated to archiving and preserving the history, legacy, and culture of Indigenous peoples east of the Mississippi River and the Caribbean. When we come back, we will be joined by a guest who is no stranger to our show, and we'll be talking about Indigenous Caribbean issues. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. And today we are joined with, again, Louis Sanakori Ramos. Louis.
Hey, how you doing? Feerce
Um,
Truth-Seeker. I'm glad to be here.
yeah, I'm good, Sanakori. Man, you were actually one of the first guests on this
What?
show.
Wow, man, it's an honor to be back. That's great, man. That's some good
Yeah,
tradition right
I,
there.
I think you were the second. You were on the second show, I believe.
Oh man,
Yeah.
see, I was in baseball. I was the table setter. Got to get
Wow.
on base, so that's good. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. So since then, I know you've been doing a lot of work, man. You've been really in the community.
Mm,
You've been doing a lot of things, man. You're very active. So for
thanks.
those who may not have seen you on the first show,
Right.
we'll just give a little recap. And let's start with the Columbus Day efforts. I know you've been really working towards getting the statue removed at Columbus Circle. And I believe that your efforts were also instrumental in getting Columbus Day renamed Indigenous Peoples Day. Am I wrong, or is
Well,
that correct?
we right now it's 15 years here in 2022 of originally it was always a ceremony honoring the ancestors who were part of the genocidal campaign of Christopher Columbus. The day before Columbus Day, we took the time, local natives and allies, to remember our ancestors. So we called it the Indigenous Day of Remembrance. So up until 2011, it was a shift in the city of New York City, where Indigenous Peoples Day was created in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we held it tight at Columbus Circle. Many activists felt like we needed to be there and to continue remembering slash protest that the statue can no longer exist. So every year we've been doing this through prayer, through ceremony. And I know a lot of indigenous communities and tribes, they many of them have protocols of not doing ceremony in public.
Mm-hmm.
But through the years, what I found very humbling was that many of us would say, we need to do this. Sometimes we have to sacrifice even our own culture to bring out a point for the ancestors. So we're
Mm.
15 years strong. Unfortunately, since we last spoke, the New York State, led by the Governor Cuomo,
Mm-hmm.
they got federal protection. So that statue technically can never be removed because
Mm.
it's federally landmark. But that's
Okay.
all right. It's not stopping us.
Mm-hmm.
And then unfortunately there was some hearings throughout the city. Should the statue be removed? And of course, our voices lost. The Italian American community is very strong,
Yes. Yes.
and maybe not stronger than our voices and our
Mm-hmm.
unity, but
Mm-hmm.
at least politically was very strong. And then the ex-mayor De Blasio promised that he was going to put up plaques around the statue, dictating or showcasing Lenape history. That was never done. That was never done.
Wow.
Broken promise, huh? It sounds very broken treaty, right? That sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, how many tribes are supporting you in this effort?
Let me tell you something, brother. Throughout the years, we got the Lakotas, the Eastern Band, Cherokee, Shinnecock, you name it, all the different tribes throughout the Northeast, West, Mexico, the Aztec, Mexica nations, the Andean Mountains. We got South America covered, and of course the Caribbean. So we got a lot of things covered. Also Europe, some European indigenous folks throughout the years would show up, especially from Romania, and a lot of these um, lesser known European tribes, believe it or not. You know, every year is a different year. And recently we lost Dee Duval. She was a very devoted activist. So we lost her. She died 2 years ago. So but we continue the tradition. We continue. Some people come back, some people don't. But guess what? The prayers are always out there. We never close the circle. It's always active.
Yeah.
Until that statue is removed, till the holidays removed. So that's our goals for that. We can't let the public forget that this is Indian land, indigenous land right here, and we have a history too.
Now that effort that you were doing at Columbus Circle, you started that in what year?
Wow, 15 years ago. So maybe I think it was 2010. Wait, 2010? Hold on. My math is way off. Maybe it was quite maybe 2008, I want to say. Damn, I lost track. I'm kind of embarrassed about that,
but that's it, because I remember you were doing it, for a while,
Let me see something. Yeah, it was way before 2008. But yeah, so we've been
it's
doing
been
it.
a while. It's been quite a while. Yeah.
I'm gonna I have a project to release all the permits that we had to get, different permits throughout the years.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very interesting. We cannot hold ceremony in the actual Columbus statue. That's not allowed. I'm still trying to find out who owns that. But it's not New York City.
Oh no.
Parks maintains it. So that's another issue. So we'll see.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you also have a mobile library.
Oh
that
yeah.
you had been working on. How is that coming?
Well, to tell you the truth, the Indigenous Mobile Library had to be shut down due to COVID.
Oh no.
Wow. Actually, a little before COVID. I put over 600 books. I got periodicals, magazines, cassettes. It's in storage right now, and I did that in late 2019 because I had to go to Borinquen, Puerto Rico, to do my own spiritual journey and healing that took place. But then when COVID hit, with the public, with social distancing, I put the library to sleep. But that's when I created Taino Radio to try to hit the airwaves.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So the Taino Radio is so you started that what was it, about a year ago?
Yeah, 2019.
2019. Okay.
Around the winter of 2019, I came back to New York City. COVID hit, so I put a pause on the library. Could go into the streets and the different powwows and so on. Everything was shut down. So right now, I'm hopefully by the spring I'll be back in full street attack.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you're gonna start it back up, the mobile library.
Definitely.
Oh, great. Yeah, because that's very important.
Oh man, I miss being out there. I miss being with the people and listening to stories. But the collection is growing. Got 500 books, over 100 periodicals, newspapers. A lot of people have generously donated throughout the years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, man. So we'll see what happens. I got a little funding frozen as well to do get like a van
Okay.
So that's another goal I got to reopen. To
Mm.
get a mobile van or a mini bus to hit those streets.
And that's going to be in the Bronx, or is that going to be all over the city?
Five. I'm hoping. I'm a little optimistic. The the tri-state area. Hit,
Okay.
hit, hit the Lenape territories, and Shinnecock and all
Nice.
that. So you
Okay.
got the 5 boroughs, Connecticut, also New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay. Wow. That's great.
That's the
Well,
goal.
okay. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
If you love them enough to do this, surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Okay. So we're back. Sanakori.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah. So, okay. So it's going to be 5 boroughs. That's good, man. And
5 boroughs.
including New Jersey.
Yeah, definitely Connecticut, New Jersey.
Oh, Connecticut too.
Yeah, Connecticut, definitely.
Beautiful.
A lot of indigenous out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. A lot. A
So,
lot. Wow.
mhm.
Now, fast forward to since the last time you have started major work, and
Okay.
you actually have authored a book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about that book.
Okay. For people who are familiar, I guess it's a combination of indigenous oral tradition mixing with Caribbean. In Spanish, they call it refranes or sayings.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started living in Puerto Rico in 2019 September, and also sporadically 2018, I was always raised with these sayings, refranes,
Mm-hmm.
and from the elders, from the adults. And when I finally moved in, it's like everyone had a saying to share with me.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I just sat down and I started journaling. After my car broke down, I bought a used car in Puerto Rico and it died on me. I didn't
Yeah.
have enough funding to rebuild it. So I had all this time in my hands. So I said, you know what, let me sit down. Let me write all these sayings that I've learned for the past 55 years in my own life, 55
Mm-hmm.
years.
Mm-hmm.
And it started at birth. So I just started, instead of writing endless paragraphs, endless words that you typically find in a book, I try to capitalize on our tradition of oral tradition, right? It's almost like me
Mm-hmm.
sharing to you a sentence and let you figure it out, let you decide what this wisdom is all about. So and it's focused on indigenous Caribbean life ways or world thought, the thought, worldview or
Mm-hmm.
attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So
And
and the home base of that is my own experience of trauma. Mhm.
so if the programming can bring up the images
Oh
of
yeah.
the book, so it's 200 ways to heal from
Right.
trauma.
Right.
Um, and this is the from an indigenous Caribbean perspective.
Definitely. Definitely.
And I see it's good you have it both in English and you have it in Spanish.
Exactly. Most indigenous peoples in Latin America or the Western Hemisphere mostly speak English and Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to reach that audience that may not know English
Exactly.
because they're part of
Exactly.
that trauma, the
Right.
intergenerational trauma of the invasion of 1492. So
Exactly.
we have to use that language as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's true for sure.
definitely.
Um, so tell us a little bit about the trauma. What inspired you to really talk about the
Right,
trauma in with among the indigenous Caribbean
right.
peoples?
Well, to make a long story short, and when I was 11 years old, my great grandmother died, and when she
Sorry
died,
to hear that.
thank you. When she died, she took with her ceremonial dynamics. She's what people will call a spiritista or spiritualist. She honored those ancestral spirits. She honored the sacred beings, and she had all these elaborate ceremonies. And she was somewhat oppressed herself by her own children. They say, "Hey, this is New York. We don't do this here," So as a kid, I remember experiencing that and seeing her sorrow.
Wow.
But she didn't stop.
Okay.
So once she died, I was in search of that spiritual world, right? And what happened was, we went to I went to 3 straight funerals. Everyone was dying back to back to back. And then I decided after her death, all right, let me go to the Roman Catholic Church because I like what they're doing. Hey, this bread is turns into God. This wine turns into blood. I'm like, man, this is so cool. Oh yeah, that's a picture of my aunt in Puerto Rico. She's one of the real deal healers in Guanica. She tries to heal a lot of people through divination and so on. So I got to spend some time with her in 2019, and it kind of helped me deal with my trauma. But basically, when I entered the church, what happened was, I became an altar boy. Right away, I became like the #1 altar boy. I was very dedicated. But unfortunately, that's when I first started experiencing physical abuse, emotional abuse, and it became sexual abuse by a priest from the Brooklyn diocese.
Damn.
And so by the time I was 14 years old, I just lost interest in spirituality. I lost interest in everything. So when I became 18 years old, that passion to be part of ceremony was still there. And I made a decision. I don't care what happened to me. I'm still gonna do this. And maybe I can prevent other children from being abused. So I got into the college seminary as a Roman Catholic. The trauma came back really hard, anxiety attacks, panic attacks. I managed to graduate. I didn't continue my studies. But again, that passion to wanting to serve as a spiritual healer didn't die. So I became a religious brother, the Franciscan Capuchins. And again, I was triggered. That was around the same time that all these scandals came out in the Catholic Church.
Right.
So
I remember that.
Yeah. So that triggered me a lot because I was living with. I have no evidence, but yeah, man. First half experience, one can figure out inappropriate behavior, right? So, and so what happened was I had to leave. So I left. And it was during that time, around 1994, that I wanted to connect with my indigenous roots. And that's when I started joining Taino groups and communities. But once again, because of my trauma, I was very critical of leaders. I was very critical of certain behaviors in the Taino community. At this point, I was away from the church.
Okay.
I put that to rest. But I wanted to be a priest in the Taino tradition, or what's called Behike, spiritual healer.
And that's your title,
right? Behike, spiritual healer. So I really wasn't happy of what I was experiencing in many of the different places. Great people. It was just because of my trauma. I was in search for something a little more, and my drive, my passion wasn't being fed, but eventually I was able to go to Puerto Rico, Borinquen. Everyone always says that's the best place to heal, right? I was going through a separation, which led to a divorce. One cannot be a lover, one cannot be a healer if one does not heal.
True.
True. So that's when I can honestly say I had like a nervous breakdown, honestly. So some people call, maybe it was a change of life, middle-age crisis, but what happened to me was like, whoa. And I do psychotherapy, and I knew what was going on. And traditional psychotherapy really wasn't helping me. No. So when I went to Borinquen, I met the best people ever, man. And these people were not part of the Taino movement. These people were people from Walmart. I was looking for some can of beans, and here's this person saying, "Do you need any help?" And that Taino spirit of hospitality, they could tell I wasn't from the neighborhood, with my Brooklyn accent, right?
The Brooklyn accent.
But everyone I met went out of their way to help me. I remember going to a restaurant buying a Cuban sandwich, right? And this guy patted me on the shoulder and he says, "Man, that looks good," in Spanish. I just said, "Bueno, that looks like a great sandwich." Now, and I'm looking at him like, I'm thinking New York now. Oh man, maybe he wants my food, And so I say, "Hey, you want some?" Because he's all over me,
Wow.
And he's like, no, enjoy it. Buen provecho, enjoy your food. And he's telling everyone in the bar, "Yo, look at that, man." So it's like the people that I met in the bar, restaurant, Walmart, right? That helped heal me. It helped heal me. I was trying to look for work, and I had a hard time finding work. For some reason, Puerto Rico would not give me my license. Would not approve my license as a social worker.
No.
Which was unfortunate. And I was like, wow. And guess what happened?
What?
For $5, you can get a full meal with a soda. And the guy every day kept asking me, the owner, this is by the roadside where I live, do you have a job yet? And I'm like, "Nah, man, I don't have a job yet." Every day he kept asking me. Finally, one day, I'm eating, right? And he comes to my ear. I thought he was gonna kiss me, he came really close. I'm like, "Yo, man, this guy, I mean, he's a really cool guy." Yeah. And I look back, I'm like, "Yo, what happened?" And he's like, "If you ever need food, don't hesitate. I will give it to you for free."
Wow.
So that was like, wow, man, that blew me away. Like, I was feeling that Taino spirit, that Taino healing, man. How community heals. So I just started writing all these things, man. I just started writing them. At first I was writing paragraph after paragraph. I'm like, you know what? I'm not there yet, man. Let me put this in sentences, Let me put this in sentence, like sayings, And that's what this book is about. It's about all the people I met throughout all my life, especially 2019 in the fall, and dealing the trauma of leaving my family here in New York. I have 2 children, but I knew I needed to heal. I was broken, and it was no one's fault. It was just I needed to heal. It was no one's fault. But because sometimes to get that ultimate healing experience, you have to let it all go, man.
You think there are a lot of people in the Taino community who share that same experience?
Well, here's the thing, man. You got intergenerational trauma. We inherit the trauma of our ancestors, 1492. And we also have these personal traumas. Many of us have this calling to be Taino, but unfortunately, a lot of our friends and family kind of put that down. Hey, don't talk about that. That's witchcraft, or that's nonsense. Get a job. Get be wealthy. Get that house. And all we're trying to do is learn and understand, and we want to be part of something powerful. Like our ancestors, community.
Yeah.
So
why do you feel that the Caribbean indigenous experience has been neglected in the books?
Here's the thing. There is tremendous wisdom from these elders that are still in the island, and places like East Harlem, Spanish Harlem, or in Connecticut, like Bridgeport, where a lot of Boricuas or Dominicans, even Jamaicans, Haitians, there's tons of wisdom, but it's not taken seriously. It's seen as witchcraft, brujeria.
Exactly.
It's almost like ignorance. That's ignorance. That's superstition. But let me tell you something. These are the wisdom keepers. Okay, these are the people. they need to be taken seriously. They need to be taken seriously. And until the academy recognizes that these Efanes, these sayings, it's part of that cultural continuity, indigenous culture. It survived, it never died.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But we being treated like this wisdom is being treated like it's nonsense.
Now, how much of? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you finished? Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, you know, a PhD from somewhere in some university has more power than a grandma in Guanica who's been doing the healing work for years.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
How much of the Taino culture is being preserved today?
Wow. Indirectly, the lifestyles is being preserved every day. Hospitality, right? When there's a crisis, the family's there. When, you know, in the everyday situation, even the way we have our altars in our homes, that's being preserved. You know, the Catholic Church destroyed our God representations and they gave us statues. Okay, we took the statues. But now, more than ever, in this generation, I see it now more than ever that they want to return to those old ways, those old traditions, you know. So they okay, maybe they want to put that Saint Jude statue away, and let's talk about Yokahu Paguamanakoti. Let's talk about Atave. Let's look at those old images that were destroyed. You know? And now more than ever with archaeology, they're discovering so much now. It's like the ancestors are coming from the ground. And also don't fall asleep on DNA. DNA has united a lot of families.
That's true. Very true.
You know, it's like the bones of the ancestors are standing up and saying, you know, because a lot of tribes have documentation of relatives. Caribbean, we don't have that. We don't have much of it.
That's true. Very true. Yeah.
So DNA has been filling the gap.
That's true.
So that's another good way of preserving it.
It's helped me because, like you say, on that Caribbean side, there's not a whole lot of documentation. You know.
You know, I like to mention something. There was a photo shown.
Oh, they're giving me the rap now. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to bring you back.
Wow, man! It's
a good cliffhanger. We're gonna have to actually bring you back because they're giving me the rap because we're out of time.
Can I say one more thing? Indigenous communities in the Caribbean and in the diaspora, that's the key right there. Yeah. My tribe is Arayeke Yukayek, and we are trying our best to bring it all back.
How can viewers who are interested in contacting you reach you?
TainoPeace@gmail.com, or they can go to TainoRadio.com. TainoRadio.com. Send me a message, I'll hook you up.
Sounds good. Okay, so we're out of time. And until the next time, all the dog go hunt.